Hi everyone, this is Susan with the Rhinestone World. In this video, I'll show you how to design and press a large design like this one using Siser glitter HTV in silver. And this is a design that is 36 inches long. So we're going to use a very long piece of material for this. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm here in Silhouette Studio. This is version 4 in Business Edition, and I have 2 lines of text that I want to write out. This first one is going to be all caps, and you notice that my text started to wrap around, so I'm going to just move this over so that it's all in one line. And I'm going to do Control A and select it and go to my text style panel, and I know the font that I want. I like College Black. So I have this ready, and the next line that I want to put in here is orchestra. And I don't know if you have ever noticed this, but sometimes when you go in here to change a font, it won't always allow you to scroll down with your arrow. So when I click on one of these, it's nice to be able to just move the up and down arrow on my keyboard, but as I'm doing that right now, it's not letting me go up and down. And a lot of people use an outside website to go look at how their fonts look. But one thing that usually works for me this is in 4.0, is to close that text style box and reopen it. Often I find then, and now it's working, when I use my down arrow, I can kind of preview the fonts if I want to. And I actually already know what font I want for this, so I'm going to go ahead and type it in. And this is a script font. So with the script font, you have some overlap with the cut lines, so I just need to right click and weld this, because if I take out the color and we take a close look at this, you'll see that if I were to cut this, it will have some overlapping lines, and we don't want that. So if I select this and right click on it and weld, now you can see those lines went away. And notice that when I welded this, it broke the compound path, so it's in parts now. So before I click off of it, I'm going to do the shortcut, the Control E, and make it all a compound path again. And I can recolor this just so that I can see it, and go back so I can see the whole page. So the next thing I need to do with my words is, this is going to be a really large design. So I am cutting on a piece of glitter, HTV Siser glitter, and this is going to be really long. So I know that I want to make this almost exactly 36 inches long. But when I click on my words up here, you can see that I would have to just kind of increase this little by little. But if I click on it and do a Control E and make it a compound path, now this aspect ratio appears, so that I could just go in here and change it. I'm going to make it 35.5. And since this is so big, I'm just going to make it a little smaller. Same thing with this one, but we already made this a compound path, so my aspect ratio is locked, and I'm going to come over here and make this 35.5 wide. And now I just want to get my page set up. So here's what I'm going to do. If I go over to my page setup panel, I can tell it that I'm working with a piece that's 36 inches long. However, when I go to place it and get it set up to cut, what you might notice is that it falls a little bit short of that. So take a look at my cut lines. So what happened? If I said it was 36 inches, and I know that I made my design 35.5 inches, why is it cut off? And if I were to go to the sun panel and take a look at the cut lines, you would also see that it falls outside of the cut lines here. So what I need to do is adjust this, because what's happening is at the very end of 36 inches, the material isn't going to be stable in the Cameo. So it's allowing for that and saying at that point it wouldn't be able to cut straight. So I'm going to actually just do something a little different. I'm taping together a couple mats, and I'm going to actually use that for stability, because I really only have 36 inches of material and I want to use all of it. I don't want to fall a couple inches short. So I'm going to go into my page setup and I'm going to trick Silhouette Studio by making this 38 inches, so it thinks I have 38 inches of material and that I'm not cutting with a mat, because if I go back to telling it that I have a mat, now I've limited my cut area again. So I'm going to change it to no mat. See, that went away, and now I can go ahead and cut this. So the only thing I just want to make sure is that I have a nice straight piece of material, because if I've made this design really at the capacity of my material, there's no give. So if I cut this a little bit crooked and one of my letters doesn't cut all the way, I would have to do the whole thing over or replace some letters or spend time fooling around with that. So I just want to be really careful to make sure that this design is really going to fit on my material. So I want to have this in just a little, and I have the bottom one up just a little, but not touching. And I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to come over just a tiny bit closer. And the other thing that I want to do is, when I put my material on this mat, since I've said that I'm cutting with no mat, that means that the Cameo is going to start cutting immediately right at the top. So when I say I have a mat, it will advance your material up a little bit and it starts cutting further down. So if I said I was cutting with a mat, I would lose some of that space of material, and then it would get to the end of my design and it wouldn't be able to cut the end of it because it ran out of material. So the way that I loaded it is right up to the very top. So I'm fooling Silhouette Studio and the Cameo at the same time. Shh. And so I'm ready to go to my send panel, and I just need to flip this. So I'm going to select the whole thing, flip it, and take a look at my material. It has a way of not holding the right settings for me, so I just want to make sure that this looks right. And I've got 6, 10, 17, and that's right. So I'm going to do a test cut, and as long as this looks okay, I will go ahead and cut this, and then we're going to weed it. Alright, so let's take a look at how we did here. And here's where the tape was. And there's not a whole lot of my design that cut there, so that should be okay. Okay, our design is all weeded and ready to press. So I'm here at my heat press, and I have our design ready to press, and I've been holding it in place with magic heat tape. I have my press set on 305 just because I'm a little concerned about this tablecloth material. And the first thing I'm going to do is just press the whole thing for just a couple seconds. I'm going to put my protective cover sheet on here. start my pressure just a little bit. So now I'm going to start just moving this design over. And I'm trying to be careful not to have too much overlap so that I don't keep pressing the same area over and over. And that looks good. Alright, so these all look like they're on here pretty good. So I'm going to put it on a table and see how it looks. So here it is on a table. What do you think? I think this tablecloth turned out really great. The silver glitter HTV from Siser really pops on the black background. This design is 36 inches long and 12 inches high, and I pressed it using our 15 by 15 Max Clam heat press. Setting up the placement is really the key for a project like this, so I kept it in place with lots of magic heat tape. So while the Silhouette Cameo cutting area is limited to 12 inches, you really could cut this using 2 separate cuts and make it into a much larger design if you wanted to, maybe for a tablecloth that goes all the way to the floor. So I plan to use this for my son's orchestra, for bake sales and for concerts and for the check-in table at fundraisers, and that's something that you could do for your fundraising group. You've got less than $25 in materials into this, and as I said earlier, they sell for $65 to $75. So you should definitely give this a try.